want to start by setting some realistic goals and expectations for you. And these are all based on questions that I've gotten asked from, my coaching clients in the past. First question being, how long will it take to start making money? One of the most beautiful things about being a service-based business is, one, you have very little to no overhead, meaning you don't really have many expenses or costs, especially when you're first getting started. You don't need an office, you don't really need people, and you don't need a lot of software. I'm gonna break down all these costs for you as we go forward. So the good thing about this is that really once you get your first client, you're making money and you're profitable. Now, if we compare that to, I don't know, this is like a little hand sanitizer company, right? If you were to start a company like this, be it e-commerce or whatever, product development, you got to put money into the manufacturing, you got to get samples, you got to test it, a whole bunch of costs going up front to it. And that's for a lot of business models. That's why this business model is so attractive, is because there's really not a lot of startup and investment costs. And once you get your first client, you should be profitable. Now, as the business grows, it gets a little bit more tricky. And this is where most agencies get stuck getting to that next level. Once you get to about $10,000, $15,000 a month, or 4 to 5 clients, you're going to need help. You can't just do it all by yourself, and you're going to need to hire people. And this is where a lot of agencies get stuck because they don't want to dip out of their pocket, because you're making $10,000, $15,000 a month of profit. It's difficult to invest at that point. It's a mindset thing. It's one of the reasons why the Blueprint Training exists, because we're here to guide you throughout this whole process, not just getting started, but also getting to the next level, hitting scale, getting people involved, building a team, so you can step back and turn this into a business, not just an income stream. So the beautiful thing about this is you can be making money within the first week, within the first month, depending on how good you are at getting clients into your ecosystem and selling them into your service. And that does take time to, again, I don't want to tell you that this is an overnight thing. It does take time to get the confidence to refine your pitch and to really understand how you should be selling and how you should be delivering your service to these people. But again, the beautiful thing about this business model is that it can come very quick if you're on top of this and you're working really hard. How much money can you make? So another really good question that I get asked quite a bit. I personally make each of my agencies about $250,000 to $300,000 a year in personal income, which is all profit. I don't take a salary from my agencies, and I don't do a whole lot, right? But it did take me about 5 years to get to that point. So let me break it down for you like this. First year, you can expect to make anywhere from $50,000 to $100,000, again, depending on how good you are at your service and depending on how good you are at acquiring clients. As you get into years 2, 3, 4, you can easily get up to $250,000 in personal income. And when you get really good at this, when we're talking about hitting scale and getting your agency to $1 million, $5 million in revenue, you can take home over $1 million in personal income. I know plenty of people that do it. It is not a pipe dream. It is not fairy tale. This is not some BS YouTube ad trying to sell you on something. You're already in. I'm telling you the truth. You can make a lot of money, and you can make a lot of good money if you build the foundation of the agency right, and if you build this properly. And again, focus on solving problems, not services, because services come and go, right? If you were to do like Facebook page marketing, like back in 2012 when I first got started, Facebook pages were huge. You could post something on there and get it to go viral. Companies started forming around that service, but very quickly Facebook turned the organic reach off in favor of ads, and that whole industry kind of died. But that core problem still exists. The core problem is that those clients need exposure. They need to get their message in front of people. So if you're good at understanding how to do that, you can be nimble and you can keep your business open for a decade, 2 decades, 3 decades, and really turn this into a lifelong, tremendous business model. Again, it takes time, but one of the best things about this business model is the speed, because if you start any other company, my wife, for example, started a company with a friend of hers, and they're selling products, and it's taking them well over a year, and they haven't made a single dollar of personal income. The company's making money, but because they have to keep reinvesting that money back into the business to keep it open and keep it growing, most businesses have to get to a certain point of income before founders can start taking money. Not in this case. And again, if you run it properly, and we're going to give you the system on how to do that, you can make very good money. How can I do this while working another job? So again, I told you a story, both myself and Brendan Hufford, we both did this while working another job. The key is really, there's this whole thing right now, depending on where you're watching this, with like Gen Z, that's quiet quitting, right? I'm not condoning that. If you're working a job, I am not telling you to piss off at that job and focus on this. What I am telling you to do, though, is to find time in your day and your schedule, whether that means getting up 2 hours earlier or staying 2 hours later or staying up 2 hours later, finding 2 to 3 hours a day to work on this. If you can do that, then within 6 months, you can get a business to stand on its own and you can start working off it alone. Another problem that people have, a big problem, is when you get stuck working a job, or you're working a job and trying to do this at the same time, that mental block, that limiting belief that you can't do this and you need that other income. This is actually what held Brendan back for about 4 years. Is he was And I don't mean this in a bad way. He was scared. He has 4 kids. You know, he needed health care. He needed the income to take care of his family. So it was very difficult for him to make that jump. But as soon as he made that jump, his revenue tripled, because when your time and attention is only focused on one thing, good things happen. So you have to have that understanding and that self-awareness of when the right time is to move over. But again, most jobs, especially if you're working a desk job, you're not really working all day from my experience, right? So if you get really good at your job and optimizing your time there, and you can make time, right, in your day to work on this, that's how I suggest doing it. Or just find a job that allows you to be on your computer all day and you're just, I don't know, like a security guard or something. You just learn this stuff and work on this stuff, still making some income while being able to work on this stuff. I was working a corporate job. Again, like I said, I would get up 2 hours early. I was getting up at 5 a.m. every single day to get to the office early so I could work on my stuff for my agency ahead of time. And then as soon as 9 a.m. hit, I was able to basically until lunch work on just that company that was paying me, my job stuff. And then after lunch, I was pretty much free because I was good at my job and I was good at doing that. So understand how to optimize your schedule, understand how to chunk it, and then also have the confidence in yourself, which is things that we work on with Blueprint students all the time. Have the confidence in yourself to jump, right? Let the parachute open on the way down. There's really no business that's easy. There's no entrepreneur that has it easy. If you want to live the good life, if you want to have the freedom of income and freedom of time and freedom to spend time with your family and take vacations and all that stuff, it takes effort, it takes sacrifice. It's not easy, right? So again, these are things that we work on with our Blueprint students all the time. And our Slack channel is such a valuable resource for that, because you're surrounded by a network of peers who are either going through it or been through it. And it's very, very valuable to have those conversations and be a little bit vulnerable and talk about these things. What margins can I expect as this thing grows? So margins meaning profit margins. Again, like I said, you don't have a lot of overhead getting started. So let's say, for easy sake of math, your first client is paying you $1,000 per month. That's basically $1,000 into your pocket. Again, we'll talk about the accounting a little bit later. You have to worry about taxes. You have to worry about some expenses. There is some software, but when you're first getting started, we're talking about probably about 80% profit margins, if not higher. As you grow and scale, you need to bring on people, which have salary and costs, and your margins are going to start to go down. A well-optimized agency that's doing, around $1 million a year, which is really where we aim to get our people in the Blueprint, are doing around 40% profit margins. And I personally make all my money off profit margins off my businesses. And the way that we teach how to deliver these services, we use what's called a productized service, which is essentially like not a lot of custom work, very streamlined, very operationally efficient. Your profit margins go up. And that's what we teach and coach inside the Blueprint. So I would say around 40% when you're optimized, 50% if you're really good, but much higher when you're first getting started where you are now. So what does an agency do? The common answer is to offer services to clients like SEO, social media, advertising, etc. Right? So a lot of people say, a lot of agencies, oh, we help clients with SEO, or we help clients with social media, right? This approach is why most agencies failed or don't make much money, because you do not exist to offer services to clients. This is an incredibly important learning lesson, especially just getting started. This is going to put you light years ahead of other agencies. You exist to help clients solve problems, right? I talked about the Facebook page example. If you were offering services, we offer Facebook page services. How many people would want that today? Zero, because Facebook pages are dead. Even the most rudimentary people who don't understand marketing know that Facebook pages are dead. It's not a good service, right? But the core problem, you need to be able to focus on solving the core problem and achieving a certain output. Your service is simply the mechanism in which you do so. Let me read that again. You exist to help clients solve problems and achieve a certain output, right? So an output is not SEO. An output is customers, right? From organic search. An output is more leads from X. Your service is simply the mechanism in which you do so. And that's how you have staying power, is you're able to maneuver this mechanism. I'm going to teach you how to do that through designing offers that allows you to stay relevant and stay powerful over time and always stay on top. So instead of we help clients with SEO, it would be we help roofing companies get more phone call leads by ranking first in Google, right? You can see how this is not only more descriptive, but it's the output. What does a roofing company want? They don't want SEO. They want leads and they want phone call leads, right? And you can do that by ranking them first in Google, but you can also change this by getting more followers on TikTok or something, or going viral on TikTok. Whatever it is, it doesn't matter. This is just the mechanism. This is what they want. This is the problem that they have, right? And these problems, of course, adjust over time. In 20 years, maybe people won't be using phones. They'll be like, I want more telepathic phone calls. I don't know, whatever it is. That's the point here, is that you as the expert are focused on this. Not this, right? This is just a byproduct of it. You can learn this, you can adjust this as you go, but this is really how you have staying power, is focusing on problems and not services, right? So big red X, big green check. When you focus on solving problems as opposed to offering services, you can stay agile and always ahead of the market It's also much easier to attract and close clients when you're output oriented as opposed to service oriented, right? I have a little unfinished sentence there, but essentially what that means is that nobody wants SEO. People might be searching for, I want SEO, but it's very small as opposed to roofing companies where you can walk up and knock on any door and say, hey, I can help you get more phone call leads, right? But if you walk up to a roofing company, knock on the door, like, hey, I can do your SEO, they're gonna be like, I don't like, so does every other person in my LinkedIn DMs, bro. But like, this is what they want, and this is what we want to focus on. And this final bullet here is incredibly important. And again, this is where I feel like we really differentiate ourselves at the Blueprint Training. The quality of your service is everything. The quality of your service and results for clients is the most important North Star metric. If you deliver for clients, I can make you a millionaire. Facts, point blank. If you can deliver for clients, I can teach you how to be a millionaire by doing this. It's not overly complicated, but your commitment to quality, your commitment to product, right? It's kind of like you look at a company like Apple or Nike, right? Their commitment to their product, their commitment to their quality, their commitment to their customer is why they have staying power. People often forget that and they get too focused on marketing or sales with agencies or too focused on the service. It's all about the service, man. It's all about how good you are at this, and it's all about results for clients. It's all about getting phone call leads. If you can get phone call leads for roofing companies, if you know how to do that, if that's a skill that I can teach you and you can possess, you can make $1 million this year. It's really that simple. So let's go through and talk about what some of these startup costs look like. So there's going to be a business setup, right? Incorporating a business with the state, setting up a dedicated bank account, set up an LLC. It's going to be the most easiest way and most protected way for your business. You also want to have a dedicated bank account for your business. That's really important. Don't use your personal income. Set everything aside. Your business is not yours. Your business belongs to the business. It does not belong to you per se, right? On paper, it belongs to you, but money-wise, money that goes into the business account needs to stay separate from your personal account. That's just another recipe for disaster. If you're paying yourself into your personal account or you're getting paid into your personal account, you'll get screwed with taxes. You're gonna get screwed with your margins. Separate them. Set up an LLC, set up a dedicated bank account. Do not take money out of the bank account until you are actually paying yourself, period. In terms of software, a lot of people get tripped up here. For beginning, you don't need to go crazy no matter what service you're running. The Google Suite runs everything in our businesses. It's for storage, it's for email, sheets, docs, all that stuff. Everything you need is there. It's $10 per month per user. Set it up. Super easy, super efficient. Slack for communication. We use this internally. You can use it for client communication as well, but honestly, email is fine. And then Asana for project management. We also use Google Sheets. Got a whole system for that. We'll teach you later as you get a little bit more advanced. But that's it. You can get away with these two for free. Slack and Asana. Google Suite, $10 a month. Nothing overly crazy. And for people, you don't need anyone to start. If you're really not comfortable with the service and you feel like you want to bring somebody in and invest in somebody, I'm all for that. I'm kind of the same way. I'm very good at marketing, but I don't enjoy doing it anymore. I personally enjoy working with people, like exactly what I'm doing right now, making content. This is my core. So I bring in really smart people and I take out of my own pocket to pay them because I know if I can do that, then I can focus on other things, growing the business, and they can focus on continuously improving the service. So business setup, $500 one time. Again, you can use like LegalZoom, you can use Swift filings, set up an LLC, it takes 10 minutes. Set up a bank account, takes 10 minutes. Software, budget for $100 a month, even though you don't really need it. And that's for other tools, maybe more specialized tool. If you're doing SEO, you can use like Ahrefs or SEMrush, something like that. But for the most part, you can get away with the free trials for a lot of these things, especially in the beginning. And then just hire as needed with people. Just keep in margin, right? In the beginning, until you get to a certain point, it really is as simple as dollar in, dollar out. Make sure you're accounting for your money. You can just keep it in a spreadsheet. Money comes in. What's my income? What's my expenses? Then always keep in mind that you have to pay 20 to 30% taxes at the end of the year of your business's income. We're not going to get into the taxes stuff here, but just keep in mind, again, tax is something that you want to be very, very, very mindful of. When the money comes into your business account, it's not dollar for dollar, meaning every dollar that your business makes is not a dollar in personal income. Not only do you have expenses that reduces that income, but you also have taxes to pay on that income. So please do not get your $1,000 retainer and go spend it, because you're going to owe 30% of that on taxes at the end of the year, and it will screw you. And if you stack up enough of that, the IRS will throw you in prison. I've seen it happen before. So in terms of setting up the business structure, there's really 3 opportunities for you: sole proprietorship, LLC, S Corp. I'm just going to keep this simple for you. Set up an LLC. Sole proprietorship is the easiest one, but it's not a good choice because you're liable. If a client decides to sue you, then you're going to be personally liable. An LLC protects you. It also is great if you have partners, because you can split up the equity very simply, very easily in terms of ownerships. S Corp might save you some money on taxes at the end of the year in terms of payroll. I actually have an S Corp and my LLCs pay into my S Corp, but if you're just getting started, set up an LLC. If you have partners, it makes it super easy as well. Just split up the equity, put together an operating agreement, set up your LLC. You have to do it. Very important. Another thing I get asked a lot is about investments or loans and partnerships versus self-funded. So I've never taken a dollar from a bank or from an investor because, again, what we talked about before, the first dollar that you get in is mostly profit. And if you're able to manage that and not completely extract that into your personal life and, at least live a little bit more humbly until you can build your business, because if you take too much out of your business, you're not going to be able to invest in people, which is really how you get from, again, that startup solopreneur to really having a business and having an agency is people. Your agency is going to be as good as the people that you can bring on. Good people require money. So saving a little bit more money up front, being a little more disciplined with your cash will allow you to get through this without any investment. However, if you do take on investment, and this is why I don't like taking on investment, you're working for that person now, basically. So it's kind of ironic. You get into starting a business because you don't want to work for somebody. If you take on money, you have a fiduciary responsibility to them to return their capital and then some. And different investors can be different in terms of their demands, in terms of what they expect. So I'm not a big fan of investors personally. I don't think you need outside money. Again, focus on getting clients. I tell people all the time, I actually just had this conversation on a coaching call with a Blueprint member, and he was like, I really need to take on an investment or a loan so I can quit my job and do this full time. And I said, no, you need to focus your attention on getting more clients. Just get more clients, get more clients, get more clients. If you get more clients, you don't need money. It's free money. It's your money. It's all profit for you to use and invest it as you need it. So that, to me, investment, I would skip past it. Unless you've got like a really big grand idea that requires very specialized labor or technical labor, then that's a different conversation. But nothing that I'm going to teach you here would require that. A loan would be preferable because you don't have to give up a pound of flesh, right? You don't have to give up any equity forever. You do an equity deal, that person owns it forever. And it can also get very ugly if you try and divorce it. I've been there before too. It's not fun. But again, you don't need money. You're just getting started. Your overhead should be almost zero. It's really just an investment of your time at this point. Now, when it comes to partnerships, another big one that I get asked about a lot. When it comes to partners, if you're going to take on a partner, which again, I'm not opposed to partners. I've just had mixed experience with partners in the past. To me, they tend to be like romantic relationships. They're not all meant to go the distance. And a lot of the times they end up very nasty and very ugly. If you take on a partner, make sure that there's no overlap in your responsibility. So for example, if you're going to be the salesperson, then you should partner with somebody who's going to be much more in ops and service delivery. I made the mistake before. I actually had one of my agencies that was bought. It was acquired by another agency, and the partner that bought it, we both had the same role and there was overlap. And even though we tried to separate roles and responsibilities, our core functions were both kind of marketing, sales, demand gen. And it was just a massive, massive waste of talent. And there was a huge gap in the business that ended up showing itself. And, I ended up leaving that company, had to leave the company because it was just, we couldn't make it work. So if you're going to take on a partner, first of all, take it slow. You don't need to enter into partnership ahead of time. My advice would be to subcontract the work in terms of partners, just like I'm doing now. I have a consulting company and I would never take on a partner there because when I need the work, I just pay somebody out a reasonable fee to do the work. So, I don't do any of the work there. I'm much more of kind of the operator and the quarterback there, if you will. And a need comes in. If I need Facebook ads, I'll go and pay somebody $5,000 a month to run our Facebook ads instead of taking on a partner to do that, right? Just pay somebody out, subcontract it, take a little bit more money out of your pocket up front in the short run. It will pay off in the long run. I promise you. Don't give up business. Don't put yourself into debt because then again, you're kind of losing why you came here, which is freedom, right? When you take on money, whether it's a loan or even an equity investment, you're losing a lot of your freedom and you owe it to that person, also to a partner too, Partnerships can get very, very messy. So generally speaking, you don't need a partner unless the model specifically requires it. I actually did an interview. This is Carrie Rose. She runs 100+ employee PR and SEO agency out of the UK. In 3 years, she built that company. And in the interview, she talks about how she took an investment to start the business and it was one of her biggest regrets because she ultimately didn't need it. She just focused on getting clients. And then she was like, well, I don't need this money. So actually I'm now stuck with a partner who has a pound of my flesh. They do like 15 million in revenue and off of a $50,000 investment, right? So that investor is happy as hell, but she didn't work out in favor. That's what can happen. If your business grows very big, then that little piece of flesh that you gave up becomes a whole organ and it becomes very messy because it can cause a lot of resentment. The final thing I want to talk about here is the flow of money through an agency. Again, this is really, really important. It's not to be understated because you have to understand how money works if you want to run a business, because otherwise you can end up in money problems or tax problems or just a whole bunch of things, right? So let's break this down in layman's terms. I actually got my MBA, so I'm very familiar with financial accounting. If you're not, this is going to be a bit of a crash course at a very, very high level. Again, I'm not a tax person. I am not a financial financial consultant. Just going to give you kind of the building blocks here for what you need to know. So the money comes in by invoicing clients, right? You have a retainer for $1,000 a month. You send an invoice to a client, they pay that invoice, and it gets paid into your business bank account, right? That's very important. It's paid in your business bank account, right? So invoice into your business bank account. Then from there, you pay all your operating expenses, right? So $1,000 comes in. Let's say you have 10 of these clients. Okay, $10,000 per month coming in. Then you have operating expenses. Operating expenses are things like your team, your software, anything that you need to operate. That comes out, right? So keep in mind, again, that's why if you live off the top of your business, it can be a problem. You need to pay out your operating expenses before you can get there. Then you have your profit. So you have, again, money comes in, you pay out your expenses, and you have your profit. I already talked about this, so I won't bore you to death. So 2 places to pay yourself, either out of the top, out of the bottom. Do not do this when you're first getting started until you've standardized. You got a year into operations. You can forecast your income. Don't start taking out of the top of the business, right? And your op expenses, you should be taking out of the profit. So what's left at the end after you pay this, that's where you pay yourself. That's where you take your money, right? And keep in mind too, that you have to get taxed on this yourself. So let's go through this again, right? $10,000 comes in, you pay out, let's call it $5,000. You have $5,000 left in profit. You take out that $5,000, you owe taxes on this $5,000. Very important. Keep that in mind. That you, just like when you work a job, they take that out of your W-2, your taxes. You need to account for your taxes on your own. Super, super important. Don't fall into that trap that a lot of other people have. So let's walk through this on more of a balance sheet, right? You got revenue coming in, you minus your cost of goods sold, right? That's your employees, your anything that goes into delivering the service, your software costs, etc. Then what you have left is your gross profit, right? Your gross profit is also called your gross margin. Then you take out your expenses. Your expenses are going to be things like your office, your anything along that nature, again, which is usually a little bit thin. And again, this depends how you account for this, but then what you have left is your net profit, right? So again, you pay yourself out of the net profit, right? So there's basically two levels of expenses that come out of your revenue. And this gets much more convoluted and complicated as you grow. But in the beginning, it's really just people and like if you have an office space. So again, your net profit down here, this is your profit. This is where you want to pay yourself, and keep in mind that you have to pay taxes on that in the end. So that's it. I appreciate you giving me your attention to go through that. That I promise is going to be the most boring part of this presentation. We have to get through it because I've just seen so many people, shoot themselves in their foot down along the line because they didn't take care of these things ahead of time. So make sure that you treat your business as a business. It is not your personal bank account. Make sure that you set up your own a business bank account, an LLC, and you understand the flow of capital through your business. Now that we've gotten through that, now we're going to start talking about how to actually start your agency. And the first thing we're going to talk about is selecting your market position. So in the next series, we're going to get into that. I'll see you there.